Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Around the 412 Fantasy Football Show, where we do not celebrate until the final clock strikes zero. What's up, Aaron Glenn? What's up, everybody? How we doing? Happy week 4. I am the host of the show, Joe Frick, and as always, joining me, the marvelous, the ball-knowing, the medical doctor of the group who does not think that Tylenol will cause autism, Drew Hannes. How we doing?
You read my mind, but I do also want to remind people that you shouldn't take 10 of them in 24 hours to cause issues, even if you're not pregnant. We can throw that part out there, too, because apparently the internet is saying that's what people are doing just to spite people politically. But
I think the funniest thing that I've seen about it as an outcome, somebody said that I am force-feeding my child heaps of Tylenol so that they can become the greatest Magic the Gathering player of all time. But enough about that. Let's get into football. Drew, this was a pretty disastrous week on the injury front. So put on the lab coat, might even need to put on the glasses for safety. But what's going on the injury front, man? It was a brutal week 3.
Yeah, it's brutal. We can start off with some of the easy ones. Najee, our beloved Najee, tore his Achilles. So
Bro, how do you go from I didn't miss a game in my career to I played like a few weeks in Los Angeles and I'm cooked?
And even before that, he gets shot in the eye by a firework, which is just insane to even think about that. But It was one of those obvious ones, though. You extend your ankle out, push off, and the thing just pops. Obviously, it slid back up into the calf. Obvious Achilles, definitely going to miss the season. He'll probably start off slow next year. He was on a 1-year deal with Chargers, so who knows what his future looks like. Definitely his value's pretty low in Dynasty moving forward, obviously. Obviously, this is huge for Omari Hampton. If you have him, you can celebrate. Not that we want to celebrate injuries, but you could celebrate the fact that you have Omari Hampton.
Yeah, I mean, he immediately popped He was RB3 last week.
He was amazing.
Second half. Who do you think takes over that backfield with him? They have Hassan Haskins. They have Dynasty darling of 2024, Kamani Vidal, who turned out to be a big nothing burger.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to me, Haskins might get some run, but it really feels like giving the keys over to him, there's not really a lot else back there. So it's going to be a Hassan Haskins spell, and Omarion just takes the show.
I didn't even bother to think about it because my cat is just flipping out right now. I don't want her to pee on my pool table because, she did that to me a couple weeks ago. And
that would be the biggest injury update of the week.
Yeah. I didn't even give it much thought because I think it's just, like you said, the Omari Hampton show. Like, there's no point in even, spelling him for, passing downs because he's a good pass catcher too. So,
right,
the dude's just going to pop off now. And congratulations to everybody that has him. Because, everybody was worried about the 50-50 split, which obviously isn't going to happen anymore. But I just don't see anyone else having enough value that's not even worth rostering them. It's just a handcuff possibility, which, to be honest, I don't feel good about starting any of them, even if they're the lone wolf. It'll just be a weird committee that I wouldn't want to touch. We can move on to James Conner, though, as I was about to say. His was crazy. You can't really see how bad the injury looked because he was in a pile. But when I first saw it, I actually have mine sitting right there, too. Maybe I should go grab that, too, real quick.
Stop leaving the stream, man. We got a show to do. You got all week to get ready for this.
You're right. His injury was wild, though. Honestly, I was watching that game live when that happened, and I thought that he blew out his knee. I thought he broke his ankle. I thought it was all of the above. He got caught. His foot was completely planted, and he was twisted around and torqued. It looked like a really rough injury.
Yeah.
And then it was reported that it was an ankle. The most recent report that I saw is that it's actually a foot injury, a major severe foot injury that's probably a Lisfranc. We've talked about Lisfranc's injuries in the past where guys really struggle to come back from those, especially 1 year removed from the surgery, even though he was injured early on. This is rough news for James Conner from not only just a fantasy standpoint, but from a career standpoint, because he's 30 years old. We checked that out before the show started. and it could take him 2 years to even be good again to play. Like he could get on the field, but he's not going to be effective. That's typically what you see from a guy with a Les Franck injury. It's actually seems to be worse than like an ACL, like getting back to actual performance with an injury like that. So it's rough, especially at his age.
Yeah.
I don't remember entirely what his contract situations look like. I feel like they just extended him, but it wasn't for like a big long deal, right? But I do think that he just signed a contract. I mean, within a year.
Let me pull it up real quick. So he has a contract that runs through 2026. So he has a contract through next year. If he was to get cut, there's a potential out going into this season that would only be a 2.25 cap hit for dead cap. So,
yeah,
I mean, he's probably going to get cut.
Yeah. And even if he doesn't, it's hard to see him performing well enough to get another contract after that. I mean, it really sucks because James Conner's a heck of a dude. Obviously, he overcame leukemia when he was at Pitt. Just tough dude, tough runner. And, I mean, a lot of people coined him as kind of like that boring type of player in fantasy, but he always gave you exactly what you needed. He was always solid. This is a really tough dude. He overcame a lot of injuries with the Steelers. People even kind of thought that he was injury prone, but this is just one of those freak things. Brutal timing, especially at his age. But we obviously wish him the best, and hopefully we do see him on the field at some point in the future, but who knows?
Yeah, it's super sad.
I mean, Chad asked about Benson, a top 10 running back the rest of the season. I personally think that he is. I don't really see Amari DiMercato doing too much to hurt him.
You know what I thought would be interesting is actually with both of these teams, would either of them pull the trigger on Breece Hall?
I have this weird feeling that him or Kamara are going to be a Chief. I tweeted it right before this. A lot of people are talking about like what to do with that backfield with Pacheco or add Brashard Smith. Kareem Hunt's just a guy at this point. I don't think.
But Kareem Hunt's doing more than Pacheco. Let's be real.
But that's because of how bad he's been, though, too. Like I don't think Kareem Hunt's been overly impressive. Isaiah Pacheco's running in the wrong direction.
They're both. It's like Hall of Mid for sure.
Yeah. I think that the Chiefs running back isn't on the roster. And I think that they're the most likely team to make a move, especially if they lose to the Ravens this week. I think that they're really going to start to get into panic mode, and they're going to have to make a move. Whoever loses that game this week, it's crazy. I think that one of those teams is going to be 1-3.
Yeah. No, I'm very excited about that. That really makes me happy, I would say. I have no love lost for that situation, to be honest with you.
Same.
So, totally fine.
I'm going to move on to CeeDee Lamb quick.
Yep.
He suffered a high ankle sprain. That one was ugly, too. I thought that was a significant knee injury when I saw it. I couldn't believe that it was just an ankle sprain. Obviously, that's amazing. You're probably going to expect him to miss at least 3 weeks, in my opinion. That's basically what the data is saying. I was kind of projecting October 19th to be on the lighter end of the 2 to 3 because he's a really tough dude. Like he wanted to play through that thing. He came back out and was like, I'm going to try this out. It did not go well, but he's typically a tough dude that's going to fight through injury and play. So I think that he'll be on the shorter end of that. Obviously, if the Cowboys could try to save CeeDee from himself and place him on IR, but I feel like they probably would have done that by now if that was the plan. We'll see, though. But you're definitely not going to have him this week. I would think it's very unlikely to see him next week. I'm thinking like October 19th when they come back on that Sunday.
Sure.
Tyrone Tracy, he suffered a dislocated shoulder. Sounds like he's probably going to miss 2 weeks. Cam Scadaboo obviously has been popping off. So
talk about a meat-eating crow. I did not think he was going to do jack in this league just because of the lack of speed. But, I mean, he's getting it done. The only thing that concerns me about him right now is how long can he go just putting his head down and just running into stuff before he hurts himself.
Yeah. I mean, he's a high injury risk player because of his play style.
But you know what was dope? That celebration where he did the backflip into the surfboard, that was pretty tight. He's
sick, honestly. Like I felt really good about him as a player at Arizona State, but I didn't really like where he ended up at. Outside of Malik Neighbors, there's just nothing appealing about the Giants. Hopefully someone named Jackson Dart, which I feel like he probably would have brought up during headlines, ends up changing that, but we'll see.
My whole thing was it was an attitude thing for Scatabo. I thought that he was better than he was. And it was like, especially in the playoff games, he did pop off in the second half of that semifinal. That first half, when it wasn't going well, he was pushing away teammates. He was getting into like arguments, and it's like that ain't gonna fly in the NFL. But he seems to be working hard, doing his thing, and props to the guy for taking advantage of that chance. Even before the Tracy injury, he was already overtaking that backfield.
I still think that they're going to be a committee, though.
Yeah, but he's definitely A1, not AB.
I don't know. I don't know, though, because, before Tracy got hurt, he had, 9 touches already. They facilitated, 9 touches really early for Tyrone Tracy. I feel like they really wanted to be, a 1A, 1B, but I think that it's going to be matchup-based, what they think fits better for their opponent, which one makes more sense, because they're very different backs. You know what I mean? Scatabo is a big bruising back.
I guess, but he's been the better receiver too, so I don't know if I buy into that.
I just really think it's going to be matchup based, but who knows? We'll see. We're not going to see anything in terms of the committee for at least 3 weeks probably. So, we'll monitor it as we go. But I think that Scatabo has a shot here to really take over the backfield. I just don't think that the Giants want to operate in that manner, especially because last year, we were kind of in a similar position last year where we wanted Tracy to overtake Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary suffered an injury, and then he came back and he was a starter again. So I just feel like that's the way that they operate. But who knows? I mean, that coaching staff obviously has a short leash here. That's probably why they're moving to Jackson Dart, because they're trying to save their jobs if they can show that they
and let's jump into that real quick. So I know that Chad had mentioned this at the start of the chat, but big breaking news in the NFL. If you've been asleep, wake up. It is a Darty party in New York. So Jackson Dart getting his first official start this week. Brutal schedule for him coming up, Drew. I have major concerns about that. It just shows how much Dable's in the hot seat. He said that this was his decision. Russ Wilson went from 450 yards week 2 to on the bench real quick after his week 3 performance, where he just threw everything out of the end zone and just was doing typical Russ stuff that we came to know and really be disgruntled about. But he's got the Chargers D this week, Saints D the week after that, and then he's got a Philly sandwich with Denver in the middle. That second stretch of games after the New Orleans game is absolutely brutal. I wouldn't have put him into that stretch. It really says a lot about what they think about Jameis Winston if they weren't willing to throw him into the sticks first, or maybe it says how much they think about Jackson Dart. I don't know, but as somebody who was a project player coming into the league, to throw him into that brutal of a schedule this early, I don't feel like they're setting themselves up for success. They're not setting him up for success, very similarly to kind of how they ruined Daniel Jones before he has been more successful in Indianapolis. So the question we got here is, do you think he's a must start next week against New Orleans? They aren't that great of a defense. They're giving up 19.2 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. That's going to be number 7 here out of 32 teams. So would you play him next week pending his performance this going, even if maybe he doesn't do so hot?
Still got to be able to find 12 quarterbacks that make more sense. I mean, he's a DFS play for me.
Yeah.
I want to say something really crazy, though, and it just popped in my head. And it's not really play style or anything like that, which I feel like there could be some similarities. But, do you remember when Roethlisberger came in the league in 2005 and he had, this, weird swagger about him? He had the backwards hat and, you remember how he was? People. Yeah. Doesn't Jackson Dart kind of remind you of that, just, his confidence, coming into the league?
Not at all.
I feel like it does for some reason to me. I don't know. It just popped in my head randomly. They're very different players, and it's a different time period. But it's just I think that Jackson Dart has this confidence to him, the way he talks to the media, and Malik Neighbors. Honestly, did you see his reaction to when they asked him about? He looked psyched.
Yeah. Oh, as he should, because that Jackson Dart is going to be hammering him with targets. So if you're a Malik Neighbor guy, that's going to be great for you for sure.
Yeah. I just think that he's I think that we shouldn't write him off. because I think that he's like a confident dude, and I think that he might surprise people a little bit.
No, I don't think that you write him off. It's just that I don't see a scenario where I start him within the first 5 weeks. And if he does pop off against the Chargers, yeah, I could potentially see him being a startable player the second week. But we've seen it time and time again where guys kind of have a good first week in the NFL because they don't have the film, and then the next week they get absolutely annihilated. So to me, it's like I'm fine taking the lottery ticket. He does have a little bit of rushing upside. He does have Malik Neighbors. So there could be some good stuff there, but there's no way that I'm playing him in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th game. Eagles, Denver, Eagles again. There's no way. The Saints game. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just you're basically waiting to see if he can be that person. I like him much more as like a QB2 and kind of like a super flex situation, especially over guys maybe like Penix or Bryce Young, who kind of is hit or miss. Or yeah, because he'll run exactly. So we'll see how it shakes out. But
I wouldn't start him or even consider it until 7 weeks from now when they have the Bears. Like that's when you really like can consider it because he'll have his feet wet. And the Bears defense has been horrible. So like they're an option. We just still have a couple more injuries that we want to pivot back to really quick. That's cool.
We got who?
We still got a couple more injuries here. Mike Evans, he suffered a hamstring injury. I think that he's an IR candidate. Definitely 3 weeks for me. The reason why I think he's an IR candidate is because we went through this in the past with Mike Evans. He gets soft tissue injuries pretty frequently. He got one last year where they rushed him back, and then he ended up missing 2 additional games because they rushed him back after like the 2nd week. Right. I think that the Bucs are going to consider, trying to save him from himself, kind of thing. Like I kind of mentioned with CD.
Yeah, well, especially with Godwin coming back practicing in full today, that does a lot. And last week, Emeka Egbuka looked great on the outside.
He was fine. Yeah, he was fine. I was literally about to say that Godwin practiced in full, and I think that he's going to play this week. So I think that Mike Evans is going to be held back a little extra. Maybe they don't place him on IR on the chance he comes back in the 4th week, but I kind of feel like it doesn't make sense. And for us personally as fantasy owners, that 4th week is a Monday night game. So we're not going to go into that game with him being a potential game time decision with the expectation to play him.
What are you expecting out of Chris Godwin coming back from this injury this week? Do you see a scenario where you put him in the lineups, assuming that Mike Evans is out?
I still feel like he's going to be on a snap count. I mean, that's typically what you would expect from these guys because he still has to get his conditioning back. I know that that's kind of why they held him out, but I still think that they're kind of rushing him a little more because of the Evans injury. You know what I mean? Like they already lost Jalen McMillan, and they're already thin at that point. So like losing Evans really makes it tough. And they cut what's his name too, the other receiver that I think the Steelers brought into the practice squad, didn't they?
That's a very vague.
Trey Palmer, right? Did the Steelers bring him on the practice squad?
Great question. He's currently on the Saints.
I kind of thought for some reason maybe the Steelers were kicking the tires, or we were just talking about it as an option on Twitter, but they didn't actually do it. But yeah, they cut him too. So like it was really just Egbuka going into this week that you could really rely on, and Sterling Shepard, which Sterling Shepard's not a guy I want to trust that he's going to make it through a game. That dude has been
well, I think what you're going to see is that they slid Egbuka out. The person who slid into the slot and actually had some success was Tez Johnson, rookie from Oregon.
Yep.
And Sterling Shepard was the 3rd guy. I imagine
you saw how it impacted Baker, though. I feel like he didn't really have a good game.
I imagine that they're going to run Shepard, Godwin, Egbuka. Godwin takes the slot. Egbuka slides out. And then Tez Johnson kind of comes in when Godwin gets tired.
Egbuka's been working outside majority of the time, hasn't he?
It's been a mix. It depends on kind of like what formation that they put in.
Yeah, I feel like that's fine. So, yeah, we'll see. I think that Evans is an IR candidate. I think the only reason why they don't place him on IR is because they think he could come back on week 4, but I don't think that they want to rush him like they did last year. I mean, they could just keep him off IR and not have that extra roster spot, but we'll see. He's definitely going to miss at least 2 weeks. I don't think he's going to be in lineups for us anyways because of that Monday night game in the third week. So we'll see. And then the final one is Terry McLaurin that I wanted to bring up. He suffered a quad injury, but he's seeing a specialist who specializes in like core muscle injuries. I feel like I don't think that it's a big deal. I think that it's like a 1 or 2 week injury, but I think that he might be having some symptoms that kind of relate to like a hip flexor. That's why they're like concerned maybe that like it's not just a quad thing. But I kind of feel like it's still not a serious injury, but it is really weird that he's seeing a core muscle specialist.
Yeah. I think that like as the backfill for him, because then you have Deebo Samuel, obviously, but where do you go? I mean, Lane, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's going to be either Jalen Lane or Luke McCaffrey. Like, I threw some darts at Luke McCaffrey in a couple Dynasty leagues. Because I always, personally for me, I always prefer the second-year guy to the rookie. I don't care if all the buzz in camp was about Jalen Lane. Like, I'd rather have the guy that's been there for a year. Luke McCaffrey is the guy that I was going with.
Yeah, Chad agrees with you. Ricky also agrees. We also got some questions that we need to jump back up to after this last point.
Yeah, we can fly back up. The only other thing I was going to talk about was Xavier Worthy practiced in full today. He should be back. And then I mentioned last week that I don't think JJ McCarthy is going to come back while they're in Europe, and it turns out that was the case. So I can kind of take my flowers for one of these. I don't see him coming back till the middle of October after they return from their bye. So
yeah.
Unless they decide to stick with Wentz, which I don't think is going to happen, but they won't have a
No, I don't think that they will. But we're going to pop back up to the chat a little bit, catch up here. So we got Ricky in the chat. Always a pleasure seeing you, my guy. So who would you rather have in your lineup right now? Brian Thomas Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr., or Jalen Warren, the GOAT?
It's Jalen Warren.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, the dude is like really good.
The Steelers' offensive line is struggling, and their lack of ability to attack downfield. He's getting so many dump offs, and he's getting the bulk of the carries. Kenny Gainwell's getting a little bit of run, but that's just really to spell him. His role is essentially flipped from what it was last year, where he is taking the lead back role on early downs. Kenny G is taking the third down stuff, but Warren is still retaining that 2-minute drill work. So for me, yeah, I think Brian Thomas is on the struggle bus right now. We're going to talk about Marv a little bit. But Jalen Warren, I mean, he's been putting up solid points. I really like what he's been doing this year. And all that time that he was carrying that soccer net, it's looking good.
Yeah.
And so let's see.
I mean, I spent on BTJ while you go through that. We'll talk about Marv a little later. Like you said, the dump off of Jalen Warren, it's hard to ignore. And he's doing stuff after the catch with it. So
yeah. So Chad saying that he's got some concern about Ladd kind of stuck in boomer bust flex range as long as Keenan Allen is healthy. Keenan Allen late to the party this season, joining the Chargers, but I mean, he's been a top 12 wideout so far this season. He's scored in every game. Ladd not really getting it done as much. QJ's getting his opportunities. What do you do with Ladd right now, Drew?
Ladd is the ultimate buy low for me. Like, my top buy low. I've sent several offers. Keenan Allen has suffered soft tissue injuries like 4 straight years. The dude's up there in age. And Ladd is, to me, still that guy. I feel like Quentin Johnson is eventually going to start to fall off as well. I mean, I'm psyched for the dude because everybody wrote him off. I still think Ladd's the best receiver in that room. It's just kind of been one of those things where Herbert's been spreading it around. I think that Ladd will get his opportunity at some point. I would buy low.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that Ladd was being overdrafted this year anyway. He finished on a points per game basis, I think around wide receiver 18, but people were drafting him as a top 12 play. Granted, like it took him a little bit to come on, but if we're just looking at things right now, I mean, Quentin Johnson's leading the team with 239 yards. Keenan Allen second, 194. Ladd McConkey at 163. They're all three of them over 20 targets. So Keenan's pacing with 27, and then QJ 23, Ladd at 21. But yeah, it's just I don't think he's a bad play. He's the only one out of the three that hasn't scored a touchdown. If you're looking at first read, they're really spreading the ball between them quite evenly. Quentin Johnson, first read percentage of 26%. Keenan Allen at 23.4, Lad McConkey 24.7. So if he was able to make some of these touchdowns, I don't think we'd be talking about it as much. But yeah, he does feel a bit like the third option. All of that data coming from Fantasy Points data, by the way. Really enjoying what I've been getting from that site. But they're not really leveraging the tight ends as much. Aronde Gadsden had that good game last week. We went 5 receptions on 7 targets. But I'm with you. I think Lad's a buy low, but I don't see him as more than a wide receiver 2 flex play. I don't think he's going to return the value that he was on draft day.
Wide receiver 2 is what he was drafted as, but I agree with you. It might have been a little inflated because I think that going into it, people thought that he was really the only option because they didn't believe in Quentin Johnson, and then Keenan Allen got late. Yeah. So it was just one of those things where Quentin Johnson's he's popping off because of the long touchdowns that he's going to get. And you don't bank on that every week, even though that's really what he is as a player.
I don't know, man. Like, it's happening quite a bit. I think that Keenan Allen is the safest play, but I do think that they're utilizing Quentin Johnson in a lot better ways than we haven't seen from him in the past. Like, people previously were trying to use him as more of like a technical receiver, or they were using him just kind of like as a go route kind of specialist. Now they're allowing him to go climb the middle of the field, work through zones, get the ball at full speed, and he's a giant specimen of a dude. Like, this is like what dreams are made of. This is what I would love to see for like the Steelers offense with DK Metcalf a little bit more, to be honest with you. But they don't really have the Keenan Allen and Lad McConkey sitting behind him to kind of take away from the coverage. So I think that Lad's doing the kind of like the route running and the behind the scenes stuff really well. It just hasn't translated over quite yet, but a couple of touchdowns, I think it is a little bit different.
I think it'll come back around.
Yeah, I think so too. Would you start Torrey Holton over Lad McConkey? He had 32 yards in a TD through the air every game of his pro career. Number 2 pass option, in line for a big boost with Charbonnet hurt. I would say no. I mean, Horton, part of his numbers are propped up because he had that punt return for a touchdown. I do think that he overtakes Cooper Kupp as the wide receiver 2 in that offense, but I don't know if I have enough confidence in Sam Darnold to support that, and it's going to be spread between the 3 of them, even if Torrey Holton is kind of in more of those wide receiver 2s, like 2 wide receiver sets. LA, they are showing that they are very much willing to throw the ball this year, which they haven't been as much in previous years. I think we have to chalk that up either to them realizing that they have Justin Herbert, and to that foot injury that he had at the beginning of last year really set them back for what their plans were for that offense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Torrey Horton, his ceiling is pretty low right now. You're not expecting those boom weeks unless he scores again on a punt return, because he's not going to get a lot of yards. He has to score touchdowns, and he probably score multiple touchdowns. He's not going to get enough big enough target share. Cool. But he's definitely a good like stash.
No, yeah, I like it too, especially in Dynasty. He popped up pretty late. Kind of big talk. His stock rose a lot in the preseason, but let's keep rolling through the chats. We got Nino here. What's going on, fellas? Good to see you. Happy as a neighbors guy for the Jackson Dart news. So I don't see a scenario where they go back to Russ. I don't see a scenario where they have Jameis.
I think Jameis gets traded.
If I was the Bengals, I would
Bengals 100%.
I'd be making a call.
It'd be way more fun.
Yeah,
he would have the first 50 touchdown and 50 interception season,
and it would still be awesome.
Those receivers,
it'd be awesome. It would do wonders for your Chase breaking top 20.
Bit of an exaggeration, but yeah, you're right.
So I'm gonna jump over Derek's question. We'll come back to it just because we're on this stream of thought here. But he sent Ellick for Judy, Pacheco and Ellick for Judy and B-Rob. Wanted to get my CMC handcuffed with all these injuries. So any thoughts on that trade?
Honestly, like, this is weird for me. The best player in that deal to me,
Alec Iomanor.
Alec Iomanor. I started him in DFS week 2, and he got a touchdown, and I'm like real psyched for. I was one of the early ones with these starts, but like I started multiple times.
I'm so mad that we didn't draft him. I really liked him out of Stanford. He's a good blocker. He's been outpacing Calvin Ridley in pretty much everything.
You should see my Twitter feed that day. I was in shambles. I crashed out when they passed on Alec Iomanor. Like, it made so much sense for them to pick him. They didn't, but whatever. I love that dude. I have him in. I'd say I have a 90% share in Dynasty. Alec Iomanor is the guy I like the most in this deal. I said it preseason. I never got the Jerry Jeudy hype. it was all Jameis that supported him last year. Their offense is obviously terrible. I get wanting to get the B-Rob share with CMC, but I feel like Alec Eilmaner is the best guy in the deal. I kind of prefer that side just because of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that Pacheco is so bad that I would probably prefer the Judy and Brian Robinson. The wild card has been that Joe Flacco they brought in to kind of be like the stability factor. He's been booty butt cheek so far,
and it's gonna get worse.
I'll be curious to see what happens. I think that QB change is going to happen sooner than later because they can't afford to put up 10 points a game.
Yeah.
So circling back to the legendary ball knower himself, Derek Bell. If you're not following Derek, if you're not seeing his content, make sure that you are subscribing to this dude. Absolutely great stuff week in, week out, off season, on season, middle of the season, doesn't matter. This dude knows his stuff. Also a badass distance runner, so that's pretty dope. But how worried should we be about Drake London? We already talked about McConkey a little bit. We think he's a good buy low. Do you have any concerns about Drake London so far? He was a dark horse wide receiver 1 on the season, and it hasn't necessarily panned out so far. He's only getting 159 yards through 3 games so far. Not looking great.
Yeah, Drake London's a tough one, honestly. He suffered the shoulder injury a few weeks ago. Obviously, I feel like that's hurting him a little bit in his production. But Michael Penix is the problem here. The dude was terrible last week. He was terrible in a good matchup. The fact that Kirk Cousins is even a discussion going into week 4 is insane. Like, that's how bad he was. I think Drake London's going to get better. But the problem with Drake London is like you can't trade him right now because you're selling way too low for what he is.
The hard part is that they have a bye next week too.
I mean,
that's really the biggest downside for it.
I think that the bye is a plus. Honestly, give him a chance to get healthy and just get your shit together, Penix. Like take 2 weeks and figure it out. Start fresh. Like it's probably a good thing. But I don't feel good about him. I'd like to see his schedule. I mean, obviously the Commanders are someone that you could probably do well against, but Penix still has to play well. That's the problem, even if he has a good matchup. Yeah. Last week's matchup was great, and it just, oof.
Yeah, I thought that they were going to have a big game last week. If you look at his target percentage, he's clearing he's about at 25%. He's at 24.5. His expected fantasy points per game, he's 17th in the league at 15.7 in full PPR format. So he is doing the things that he should be doing to at least maybe not be your wide receiver 1, but to be a serviceable player in your lineup. But yeah, like you said, Michael Penix is just not getting it done right now. I don't know how they turn away from him because of the way that things unfolded last year.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a world where they do go back to Kirk just because they care about being a playoff team, but it's a terrible decision to do that. I could see them being stupid, honestly. Like they're bringing Zach Robinson down from the booth to have him on the sideline. We'll see if that helps. I think that that's his coach move just to say we're trying something.
Isn't that what the Steelers did with Matt Canada too?
Yeah, and it didn't work. So cool. You should be worried, honestly. I'm more worried about Drake London than I am Lad McConkey because the Chargers are playing at a high level. It's just a matter of him just getting his opportunity again. Drake London's hurt, and their offense looks bad outside of Bijan. So hopefully this bye week just helps him sort it out. You can't trade him, so you just got to wait it out and hope for the best.
So we got Balloons Battles in the chat. Welcome to the show. Do I trade Achane and Kelsey for Bowers and Warren? I'm assuming that's Jalen Warren. You're not doubling up on tight ends. Ooh, man, that's an interesting deal.
Travis Kelsey's washed. So,
Travis Kelsey is washed. That is true. But the tight end situation is pretty much a wasteland. Brock Bowers does not look like himself since he's had that injury.
I think that he's going to bounce back, though. I think that he's
how long. Like if you look at his route running right now, it's just not great.
Well, the PCL thing, if he's closer, if Bowers is closer to what Puka was in the preseason with that injury, you're not going to see him be productive for like 8 weeks. So, but we don't know that. You know what I mean? We don't know what it is. It seems like he's a decoy out there, though. So, like, you're probably right to just keep Achane. I think that's where you're alluding to. I think Achane's the best player in that deal by a large margin, so it probably makes sense to just stick that out. Maybe Kelce does better when he's not the focal point at this point because he's washed. Like right now, he's being taken away because he's the only guy.
Yeah.
Maybe when Rashee Rice comes back, even though we're worried that Rashee Rice makes it worse because of how it was when he was healthy last year, but it's just like Kelce isn't the guy that can just, get open at this point. And when he is open, he's dropping balls. So it's like, it's tough.
Well, somebody has to be around to be able to yell at Andy Reid. So I think
Andy Reid went to him, by the way. Did you see that? I think Andy Reid approached him, which makes it like, what the hell's going on there?
Yeah, I don't. It's very weird. But to your point, Travis Kelce 13th right now in yards. He has the one touchdown. Should have a couple more, but not very exciting to me. I would probably looking for other options. I like the idea of getting Bowers, but he's currently getting outplayed by McBride, Jake Ferguson, Tyler Warren. I feel like I would rather try to make a move for Jake Ferguson right now, especially with the CeeDee Lamb injury. To me, he's the biggest beneficiary out of all that, and I wouldn't want to give up Achane to do that. But if you say, hey, here's Kelce and another piece, maybe that person becomes a little bit starstruck by the names and they kind of run with it. Another guy that you can get for cheap, I think, Hunter Henry is showing that he's kind of Drake May's safety valve. I don't think last week was a fluke. 2 out of 3 weeks, he's had a good game. Has been top 12, which that's pretty much all you can hope for with tight ends. You're not going to get very many guys that are going to be week in, week out. The only thing that would make me do this trade is if I have insane running back depth and I can be fine without having Achane on my team.
Yeah, I don't think you can make this move, honestly, because I think Bowers is further away from being productive.
Yeah.
And it's not worth waiting that.
So, Drew, I don't think we touched on this one, but Bill the football guy popped up on the report with the knee injury. Are we worried about that at all?
Yeah, so that one's new. So, I started to look at that. It was weird. I was at the gym today, and I swear Sleeper popped up with, 30 different notifications of guys that didn't practice today. So I didn't even get to look at this one. I'll tell you right now, I dropped Bill in a couple leagues to get Trey Benson this week because he got out touched by Chris Rodriguez then after the dude was a healthy scratch. I think that this is exactly what we were saying in the early in training camp, that this was just going to be a committee. He's not breaking away even if he was healthy.
Yeah, and then McNichols comes out of nowhere and has the nastiest 60-yard run that nobody would have ever expected him to do. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm not too worried about it, but I have bigger concerns about the role in the offense. So I don't think his role changes, but I don't think he's running away with that job like people were kind of hyping up that he would. Ricky says that you're a bum, and he's going to dust that ass this week, so get ready for that.
He's lucky that he's playing me this week after I lost.
Tyler is about to get busted up this week, so bring it on. Tyler been making big trades. I'm about to show him what's up. He don't want none of this. He don't want none of my smoke from my wide receiver room. It's too nice. But he got Ferguson, so he's pretty happy with that. Tight end premium, so I'm sure he's loving that. QJ learned how to separate. Pretty shocking, I agree. So question from Hernley in the chat. Should I start Cam Scatabo or Alvin Kamara this week? So we're looking up the matchups real quick, so I'm pulling that up here on my screen.
Kamara has a good matchup against the Bills. You've been able to run on them.
Yeah, they've been kind of like a middling matchup. They've played Miami, the Jets, and Baltimore. I do think that first game against Baltimore where Derrick Henry just went sicko mode is kind of carrying that. Yeah. But if you look at how Achane was successful last week, 9 targets, 7 receptions. So that's what
exactly what you're going to expect from Alvin Kamara.
Right, exactly. But otherwise, people aren't really running on them at all. Derrick Henry did, and then Derrick Henry forgot to hold on to the football for the last couple of weeks. Even at the end of that game.
I just think that Jets game was so bad that it's deflating that number.
Personally. Yeah, but Ollie Gordon went 9 for 38. Achane went 12 for 62.
So they gave up over 100 yards. It was just that it was split. Kamara's going to be the only guy, right?
Yeah, but he's not the only guy. Alvin Kamara's never rushed for 1,000 yards in a season.
Right. But I'm just saying,
say that he's going to be the only guy running. I don't I wouldn't.
I just don't think that they're very good to give to anybody else. The problem with Alvin Kamara right now is that they're not going to score enough touchdowns this year, so you're not going to have a lot of boom games because they can't.
The problem with Alvin Kamara is that his target rate is at like 8%.
Well, Olave's taken up a lot, which is what we said would happen. My thing is though is like Kamara doesn't really have any touchdown upside because they're not scoring a lot. So it's just like
I would still play Alvin Kamara over Scatabo. You got first game Jackson Dart. The Chargers have been pretty nasty across the board on defense, so I don't necessarily see it. But I would stick with Kamara. I think he's going to be just fine.
Same.
Cool. All right. Tyler, I've never heard of this person before.
Jake bringing the stool this week.
Jake bringing the stool, man. That's like how you reach stuff on the top shelf. I don't really know about all that, but okay. Anything about this Neighbors injury that popped up today? And he also did not practice.
Neighbors been fighting injuries since LSU, and he'll play.
Yeah.
Right. Not really worried.
Cool. All right. So before we jump into Fantasy Football Tinder, Ricky Dunk's hoping that Kamara gets traded. I wouldn't mind it. See where he would land. You said the Chiefs. That would be very interesting. Arizona, the Chargers could have some appeal, but we'll see what they can do. And if Kellen Moore is trying to turn Kamara into Saquon, they should just fire him now. So let's jump into Fantasy Football Tinder. For those of you at home that have not played this before, the best way to learn is by example. So we got our buddy Zach. And Zach, people were wanting to know, has Zach been showing too much meat on the net? They're throwing up a lot of meat picks up on there. Got some people that may be concerned. People that love that big meat picks. He's been a crazy meat pick guy lately. It's been out of control. Some people love the meat picks. They're going to swipe right on it and say, give me more meat picks. That's what I need. You know what I'm saying? They're about that action. They're going to swipe right. You'll see the green hearts up on the screen next to our faces, and you'll hear us talk about why. If it's a no, hey, no meat picks for me. I'm going to see the red X pop up on the screen. So, Drew, where we will begin this evening is going to be the Dynasty Unanimous 1.01 in 2024. Is Maserati Marv actually a Mitsubishi? Drew, break it down for me. And before you answer, we've asked America. America voted. 65% of people swiping right on Marv, saying he'll be fine.
Yeah. So, based on what I said last week about Brian Thomas Jr., I swiped left on Brian Thomas Jr. God, I wanted to swipe right on Maserati so bad. I wanted to because I have so many shares of this dude, and I love this dude coming out like most people. But how can you swipe right on this dude right now? I swipe left, and it's basically the same argument for Brian Thomas Jr. last week. The caveat is here that Marv is getting less volume than Brian Thomas Jr., so huge negative. And honestly, like, his press conference after the game rubbed me the wrong way. Honestly, like, I don't want, like, he's a really high character guy. Good dude.
Yeah.
But, like, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. The stuff that he did at Ohio State, like how flashy was his body control on the sideline, like some of the sick catches that he made, I feel like he needs to have a little bit of like that alpha dog mentality in him, where he needs to
like kill somebody.
No, he doesn't need to be like AB, but
I'm talking like his dad.
No. He needs to be like, he needed to go to the mic, drop a couple curse words, and be like, I need to be freaking better, and I need to catch a goddamn ball. I need to stop. But like, it seemed like he was like pouting and like feeling sorry for himself. And it was just like, he said that he was just going to go out this week and do the same thing, be in his same routine, and hope that it gets better. Like, no, bro. Like, you need to get on the field. You need to take that jug machine for 6 hours. You need to catch every goddamn ball that they throw through that thing.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I do the same thing after I like binge on the weekend and I don't see any change like on the scale. I'm just like, you know, we just gotta keep at it. We gotta stick to the routine.
It don't work. It don't work. My man needed to, like, I needed him to look like he needed to come out like Malik Neighbors does. It was like, they need to throw me the ball. You need to have that alpha, like, you want to be great mentality. And I don't see that from him as as a player. Like, it just seems like he's going through the motion. He just expects things to change because he knows who he is as a player. But like, the dude needs to have this like dog mentality and be like, I'm playing like shit right now. I'm wide open. I got to catch these balls. And things will get better. But like, it doesn't seem like he has that dog mentality. He's just going to go through the motions. His volume he's 6 targets a game, I think, roughly right now.
Yeah.
Like, he was at 5.5 on the season, on the average. Like, that's just not going to fly for me. Like, the dude has to have a different mindset for me to be really great. And then his schedule's terrible. I don't know if you really broke it down, but like, I took your charts from this week. Obviously, a lot can change.
That's the whole point of the charts, Drew.
Yeah, sure. You know what I mean? But like, I took like 21.5. Any team that's given up less than that, of the teams that he plays this year, only 4 teams have given up more fantasy points to wide receivers as a total at that amount. They're all bad matchups. You got the Seahawks, you got the Colts, who have been really good. The Packers defense has been great. The Seahawks, again, who they've been really good. The 49ers have a good defense. The Bucks, solid defense. The Rams, and he has the Texans. The Falcons have been good on defense. And then he ends with the Rams. He does have the Bengals in the championship, though. So like that, if he can figure it out and catch the ball, I love that. But it's really just Titans in 2 weeks, Cowboys in 5 weeks, the Jaguars, and the Bengals. Other than that, I hate his matchups. And the offense is just weird. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't feel comfortable with their offense being consistently good. So it's always been hard to start Marv because you kind of knew that duds were going to happen because of Kyler. But, like, now you add the fact he's not catching the ball. He has bad matchups. It doesn't seem like he has that mindset that he wants to be great right now. And it felt like he was pouting and, like it was kind of like he was looking for sympathy with his play, which I don't think that he was. It's just like he's a good dude. But, like, I want that dog to really feel confident about this dude. So I swipe left, and I have so many shares of him. I'm going to have to continue to put him out there unless I have another better option. But, like, in most cases, I'm not going to have better options. I just got to hope for it to be better. But I just don't feel good about it, so I'm swiping left.
Yeah, I think he is a matchup dependent flex play for me right now. I'm also swiping left, excuse me. So just a couple of stats that I'm going to leave you with before we keep moving. We also have a question in the chat that we'll hit, but he's currently on his route running, which was supposed to be something he had a real strong refinement coming out of college. 120th in route win rate. It's not great. Like, the people that he's around in that range, it's pretty sad. Only targeted on 18% of his routes. He is the first read 21.7% of the time, which is 50th best in the league. And he is 36 in expected fantasy points per game at 12.4. So it's just not a lot of good there. There is a chance that he may be fine. He's not somebody that's necessarily droppable for me, but he's somebody that's going to have to be in a good matchup for me to kind of willingly put him in my lineup. So we'll see where we go. So on that subject, Chase Brown or Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, talk about downfall for Chase Brown this year. He's been incredibly inefficient, averaging under 2 yards per carry. I have a lot of concern that he's going to be able to maintain this backfield if he keeps putting up the numbers that he is. Now, I get that they lost Joe Burrow, but Jake Browning is willing to kind of dish the ball. Chase Brown, even when he had Joe Burrow, hasn't really been doing a lot. So somebody that I wouldn't have wasted a waiver claim on, wasted any fab. But Taj Brooks, they had that injury to P. Ryan. He's going to get a little bit more run this week. If he can kind of make a name for himself, he could eat into that share of that workload. Chase Brown's still been maintaining that super high kind of like bell cow role for that offense, but they're going to get buried if he can't do anything with it. I think at this point, if I had to choose between the two on the season, I'd probably lean Marv for this particular week. Just looking at the numbers, Cincinnati has a pretty solid matchup against Denver. Denver's really banged up at the linebacker position, so they're going to be needing to lean on the run, and I think that they're going to do that. Arizona against Seattle. Seattle's been locked down against cornerbacks. We'll see if Witherspoon plays this week. So Yeah, I guess Marv on the season, but Chase Brown for this week.
Honestly, I wish you could have a better option.
Yeah.
I'd probably play Marv on the hope that maybe he just has a bounce back game. Like he really took that personally. Because I hate playing Chase Brown right now too. Like it's just I understand the matchup. Like the running backs have been doing well against Denver. But I don't know. They were ugly last week, dude. Like
yeah, but you just got to take that one and throw it out. I mean, that whole team was dog water last week.
But what if that's the trend? Because it like Jake Browning had a good season when he filled in for Burrow last time. But like, what if that was just a fluke season? You know what I mean? Like
they still have enough talent on that offense that I think that they're going to be able to move the ball a lot better than they did.
I still feel like it's Chase only. Like I feel like that's
not this week. Not on Sertan Island today. So
this
we'll
is
see.
Tough.
Yeah, I don't feel good about it.
I feel like I'd just rather stream someone else.
It's just off the street.
Like, God, like what about Jalen Tolbert? Like they have a tough matchup with Green Bay, but I feel like they're gonna be in a high scoring game.
No.
I'm just throwing anything out there because I hate this.
Yeah, well, that's why we're here. So let's move on to things that we don't hate. Let's transition to Tinder number 2. So next guy, kind of slow play. He also has Ellick, so he could throw Ellick in the lineup. I don't hate that at all.
That's the move. Unless it's against me, then you can just start Marv.
So Drew actually did the caption for this one. So if you like it, make sure you like, subscribe, do all that fancy stuff for the Around the 412 network so that you can see all these great captions like this. But I did laugh at that one. It was pretty good. Your Marv one, it was okay. But I'd at least give you one bone for the week. So
Ellick has the Texans and Derek Stingley.
Yeah, but that's going to go to Ridley.
Oh.
And Stingley's banged up.
Yeah. All right, play Ellick.
Yeah, so 88.9% swiping right in on Quinshon. Drew, how are we feeling about it? And Ricky said it's not against you, so you're good.
Yeah, I play Ellick. Quinshon Judkins is an easy swipe right for me. So as some people may know, that Quinshon Judkins was my dynasty darling for this year. I've traded several future firsts to move around to go get him. I have him in all but one league. The situation that happened, obviously, during the offseason was a shame, terrible situation. It seems like that's mostly behind him now. We can just focus on football. I think the dude's a stud, dude. Like, he was neck and neck with Omari and Hampton as my RB2 heading into this draft. Genty was far and away everybody's RB1. But I just love Quinshon Judkins, the player. Like, his play style, he's very physical. He can catch the football. He just didn't have to do that at at Ohio State. He did it at Ole Miss. I think that he's the Browns' entire offense.
Yeah.
He took over the backfield last week, and people thought that it could take longer, but they really didn't waste any time getting this dude the ball. And he had arguably one of the worst matchups that he can have. And honestly, it could be the worst because he ain't going to be playing against the Cleveland Browns defense, which is probably the worst matchup in fantasy football right now for defenses. And he went 18 for 94 and a score. Like, he's their offense right now. He showed that he can have long explosives as well. He had a nice long run. I do think that he's going to get more targets out of the backfield. He only had 2 last week, but I just think that he's capable of doing that. They're definitely going to be in games where they're going to be down and they're going to have to throw the ball more. Dylan Sampson's snap count went down pretty significantly. It was only 24 combined between the other running backs, and most of that went to Jerome Ford.
Yeah, Jerome Ford is now the third down running back. I don't think that Dylan Sampson sees the field without an injury to Quinshon. I don't think that they view Sampson as a third down back at all. I think he was a security blanket, just like, hey, like, we think he's a good player. Let's see what happens. But yeah, he's the odd man out right now.
And I think that, Ford's going to have some carries to I think Quinshon still needs some more time to get into physical shape, and that might be why Ford's snap count's inflated. I think that he's capable of handling a lot of that passing network, and especially if you have Quinshon out there, they're not going to be one-dimensional where they know that like they're not going to be able to run the ball without him, because I don't think Jerome Ford offered much as a runner prior to Quinshon coming, so they don't want to bring a guy like that. Like, okay, they're not handing the ball off to him, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the main thing too is that he has a solid schedule. I mean, he has the Lions this week and the Vikings next week in London. Those aren't great matchups, but I still think that the Packers matchup is worse than those two, and he showed to be very well. Then he has the Steelers. He's going to be able to run on the Steelers, which is going to be tough for us to watch. But it's
maybe we'll see. I mean, they looked a lot better with Harmon in there last week.
Yeah, I still think that they'll still run the ball pretty effectively. I've watched them play. It's a lot of that bend don't break. They'll let them run the ball, get downfield, but then when they get on their side of the field, they're going to start to tighten up, and then they'll just try to hold them field goals. That's just how the Steelers play. But then they have the Dolphins. I know that their secondary is really what's bad, but they're a bad defense altogether. The Pats, you can run on the Pats. The Jets, they've shown that you can run on them. The Ravens have been one of the worst defenses in football in terms of yards given up this year. Even though they blew out the Browns in week 2, they still gave up a ton of yards to them. They just didn't capitalize again at the end zone. The Raiders and Niners are going to be tough matchups. But then the rest of the way, he's got Titans, Bears. I still think the Bills are a plus matchup. I could be wrong, but I just kind of feel like they've been prone to give up a lot on the ground over the past couple of years. And then Steelers and Bengals in the playoffs. I just like his schedule. I like his ability. I like the fact that they're ramping him up. I think that if you could still potentially buy him low, I think that this is like you need to get on that ASAP. I know that you mentioned that you think he could be a sell high. I do see it. I see your point to it, but I just believe in the player so much that I'm more inclined to buy him at this juncture. I think that he's a stud. And
yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm going to swipe right. So just to hit on some stats before we move on to this last little segment here. But yeah, so he's already taken third place in percentage of teams' rush attempts. He's hitting 66.3% of the Browns' rush attempts. He's only behind Tony Pollard, who's going to see that number come down with Tajay Spears returning here soon, and Chase Brown, who we already talked about, who could be losing snaps if he continues to be as inefficient as he is. And he's doing this while only having a 66.3% snap share to date. Week 3, he had 94.7% of the attempts on a 57.9% snap share, which is just absolutely insane. So they're looking for ways to get him the ball. 17th in expected fantasy points per game at 14.8 points per game amongst running backs. And he has the 13th best explosive run percentage, which is going to be 15 or more yards. Last stat I'm going to leave with you. Since he's been active in the Browns lineup, he's gotten every single carry inside the 5 for the Browns. Now, they're not getting inside the 5 all that much, but that is one of the biggest predictors of running back success in the NFL, because if you're getting those close touches and you're not Tony Pollard for the Cowboys where he couldn't touch the end zone if you threw him in it, you're going to most likely score at least 30, 40, 50% of the time. So I do like Judkins there. I do swipe right. The only reason why I say that I could see him as a potential kind of like a sell high, I think he can retain that high-end RB2 value, but the Browns are just so bad that they're not going to be scoring a lot, and people are going to be able to score touchdowns and just kind of pop off. So if there's somebody that you can kind of like swap who people are down on, like I know there's people that are still weird about Kyron. If you could turn Quinshon in a piece somehow into James Cook, who's been out of this world, like I would be all for something like that. I don't think the Cook owner would ever do that, but people are weird, man. I don't really know.
Yeah.
So before we jump into our Only Fantasy segment, we do have a question from Soccer Mariano. Would you trade Jordan Addison for Travis Etienne?
I don't hate the idea of trading Jordan Addison, because I do think that I don't think the Vikings are going to be able to support all those receivers with the way that they're playing. McCarthy's playing, and I'm not overly excited about Wentz.
Do you know which side of the field that Addison and Jefferson typically line up on by chance?
I haven't really thought. I mean, because I haven't seen Addison on the field in so long, I can't even like picture it.
Because JJ can't throw to the left. at all.
You're right.
He doesn't, and he hasn't since he's been in the league. So I don't like the direction that ETN's heading in. I think that's going to become a committee. We're seeing Tootin get a lot more run.
That's what I was about to say. I think it could do better than ETN. But
Yeah.
I do like the idea of trading Addison. I'd even consider what you just said, but that's 100% true. Like he cannot throw to that side.
Yeah.
It's weird.
So I mean, I would probably take the deal, but ETN I think is a fading asset. I think he's going to start hot, kind of lose steam a little bit, but I don't think that Addison. I think this week is going to be the time that his week is the highest, like his value is the highest outside. He's going to be good for one 30-point game. And LaQuint Allen also ran the most routes out of that backfield last week. So do what you want with the Jaguars. It's a hot mess right now.
Yeah, I would trade Addison, but I think that ETN is not the target. And honestly, we can go back to that question you had about which side he throws on, because do you think Kevin O'Connell's smart enough to realize that if JJ's not throwing to that side, that he needs to move JJ to the other side because he's like the elite receiver?
Or conversely, do you put JJ on the left? Do you put Justin Jefferson on the left so that it's like I have to throw to the left because it's Justin Jefferson over there?
But like,
no,
if he's not effective at doing it,
yeah.
I don't know. I would trade Addison though. I don't think that they could support all three. You saw that Hawkinson was nothing until Wentz came in, and
it's a McCarthy problem, I think. So we'll see how it shakes with this. We'll see. He's still so young. It's hard to rule it out completely, but I think in a vacuum I would take this trade, but I would explore other options besides ETN first before I pull the trigger. Another question we got here. So off topic, but I mentioned having Egbuka and Rome starting, assuming health. Should I start Pearsall over either? I really like Pearsall, especially if Brock Purdy comes back this week. I considered making him my only fantasy player for the week, actually. So Jacksonville giving up 39.3 points per game in PPR formats. That is number 6 in the league this year. I think that either him or Juwan Jennings is going to pop, depending on which one's going to be available to play. Would I start him over Egbuka and Rome? Rome, definitely not. Rome is a must start every week. Egbuka with the Mike Evans injury, I think that I have to start those two. Pearsall would be a pretty strong flex for me, though.
Yeah, Egbuka, like I wouldn't start anyone. I wouldn't sit Egbuka because Godwin's coming back. I think that Egbuka is going to have a big week as the guy. And we need to make it clear that Rome is a set it and forget a wide receiver at this point, right? We can agree on that.
No, yeah, I'm 100% with you on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, Pearsall, if you're looking at the numbers, honestly, he's let me see, where are we at for fantasy points of the year? So, I'm looking only at tight ends. Hold on. So, I mean, I think Pearsall's also in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think so. He's probably in the top 15 though. I just go off of ESPN standard scoring.
Standard? No one cares about standard.
Standard on ESPN is PPR. That's because that's their standard setting.
Ricky Pearsall is 16 right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just because no PPR just doesn't make sense at this point. Like people really don't play that anymore.
Still standard in my opinion. You can't change the name.
I mean, it's great. It's great having all those guys, but I think
he also has Puka, so he has
even with a bad matchup, but
he only has 2 spots because he has Puka.
3 of those guys are starting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, one's a flex then, right?
Well, right. So you're starting Puka, Rome, and then it's either Egbuka or Pearsall.
The second receiver. Yeah, and it's Egbuka, right? I mean, they have a tough matchup with the Eagles, but I think that it's going to be. I think that the Bucks will play them tough.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's jump to this next.
And I think Mac Jones is going to play.
I don't think so. He's hurt.
You don't think Mac Jones is going to play?
No.
How did I miss that?
I don't know. You're just the doctor. I'm just here. So we got Connie Bell in the chat. Hey, Connie, how you doing? Would you guys trade CD for Lad McConkey and D Swift? No, please don't. 1 and 2 have Mike Evans, CD, James Conner all get injured last week. I also have Chase Brown, so my team's in pretty rough shape. Yeah, the injury.
Just hang in there.
Who else do you have on your team? Because
I think he gets 3 weeks.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think like who would be like a better target. Lad McConkey wouldn't be the guy that I would want, and Swift is not the guy that I want because he's also banged up.
That's not enough for CD, even if he's hurt. You just have to wait it out.
Especially because there's so much ambiguity.
There's a lot of injuries around the league right now.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of injuries around the league right now. I feel like you can find some sleepers.
Who would be a better target in your mind other than Lad and Swift?
I'm not trading CD.
Okay.
So I don't know if it matters. I think you go to waivers and try to see like if you could pick someone else up. Like what if Luke McCaffrey is the hit?
No, stop that. Stop that.
I'm just saying, like, you're not going to start him, but like pick up some guys and hope they hit on one, right? You don't have to start them. You just have to tread water for a little bit till CD gets back. That's all I mean. Like, hope that it's just 3 weeks. You could lose 2 matchups and still make the playoffs. Just hope that it's. I mean, he wasn't able to get Trey Benson, I assume, right?
I'm gonna guess no.
Chase Brown is the good matchup that you implied about this week, so maybe.
True. Yeah, I would probably try to see if I could sell high on Chase Brown after this week. That'll be my play and hang on to CD.
Yeah, I just want to trade CD, especially for that return. We were talking about those guys earlier in the show as like, well, Lad, that he's just not doing it right now. So, is it worth trading CD for a guy that's been mediocre?
Yeah. All right, so let's transition to our last segment of the day, the OnlyFantasy subscriptions for the week, where we make our predictions on one player who we think is going to exceed expectations that we would like to subscribe to. Before we can get to our picks for this week, we need to take a step back and look at how we did last week. I'm struggling a bit, so I had picked Kyle Pitts. Shout out to my boy in the quarterback room for Atlanta, Michael Penix, with a big nothing burger for me. Kyle Pitts, despite the good matchup, 4 receptions, 39 yards, finished as wide receiver or tight end 20. Terry McLaurin, 3 catches, 74 yards, 4 targets, and 1 overturned touchdown that left Drew eyes shut, upset. Drew,
he was wide receiver 15 if they give him that touchdown.
Yeah, and I was wide receiver 3 if I would have been 6'4" and 225. But
he was in the end zone.
Can't count it. Drew, who is your only fantasy subscription for this week?
Jordan Love. I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I've been rambling tonight. Dallas Cowboys suck. 27.8 fantasy points per game of quarterbacks. You saw what Caleb did. You saw what Russ did. Russ just got benched. Easy play here. I think that he should be in all lineups. He's quarterback 9 in terms of what people are ranking him as this week. I think that's still too low. Like, I think he's a top 5 quarterback this week.
You think of the Matthew Golden breakout week?
That'd be nice. I'm starting Romeo Doubs in a bunch of leagues because he's the one that's playing the most snaps. But he's going to be able to spread it around, and I feel like all those guys could be on the flex radar.
Yeah. All right, so for me this week, going to mix it up. I'm going to go J.K. Dobbins. So the Bengals are giving up 4.47 yards per carry. He is currently, from like a bell cow perspective, 18th in the league in the team's percentage of attempts. He is continuing to do J.K. Dobbins' thing where he is 3rd in the league for explosive run percentages of players with at least 10 carries. He also is near 3 yards per contact, or 3 yards before contact. So the Denver offensive line really humming. Bengals defense hasn't been doing great. I think it's a good game script that both teams are probably going to be running the ball. And what better way to help their struggling sophomore QB Bo Nix kind of get back on the right foot, it's going to be through the ground. I don't think that it's an RJ Harvey week just yet. The Bengals have been better against the pass than they have on defense. I think that the Denver defense is going to be a bit suffocating through the air for Jake Browning. So positive game script. Let's see what J.K. Dobbins can do, and let's see if I can beat like absolute horrid picks so far. So I don't think it's going to be too hard to beat, but I like where Dobbins is at this week. Yeah.
He should be great. Do you think RJ Harvey's flirting with being droppable?
No, just because at this point in the year, I'm looking for people that could win me the league, and he would be somebody that I don't want to have to fight on waivers for later.
It depends. I think Dobbins needs to get hurt for that to happen.
No, yeah, for sure. But like, I'm not gonna like go out there and pick up like LaQuint Allen or like somebody random like DeMarcado or something.
Mine was
like
more
that.
of a if you needed to drop him to get Trey Benson, would you have done it?
Yeah, but that doesn't even matter. Like that's like an obvious. Like I would drop most players to pick up like the starting running back. You know, like you have to do that.
True.
So
I don't know. I've been flirting with the idea of dropping him, but
yeah,
in redraft. But
I got you, man. Yeah, I mean, I get the hustle, but I do think that the upside of there, the person that actually is leading the league in yards before contact is RJ Harvey, believe it or not. But he's only had, I think, 13 carries. So
he didn't really look effective when he touched the ball. It's really my concern. But we'll see.
We'll see what happens. Still too early to say. But if you like what we're doing here on the show, you can find us in a number of different ways on the interwebs. We have our figure it out at some point in our life. Our personal handles, JOEFRK, at Drew Hannes. Very easy to find. On X, you can find the show for all your start, sits, trade, whatever life questions that you have for us. AT412FF Show. And you can find us on YouTube and on Twitch at Around the 412. I actually need to talk to the boss because the Twitch account is not currently working, and I don't know why. But with that in mind, Drew, any closing thoughts for week 4?
I don't. I've been rambling all night. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Best of luck in week 4, all y'all. And anybody in Fishbowl, hopefully your teams are doing better than mine because mine is rough.
Hey, man, we all can't be me, and it's okay. But that's going to do it for us this week at Around the 412 Fantasy Football Show. I'm Joe Frick. That's Drew Hannes. Best of luck to y'all in week 4, and we will be here every Wednesday night, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. Peace.